Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, what I want to do in this episode, as we're taking our game here outside, a little bit more remote, is I want to talk to you about what I believe to be the 4 principles of success that all advisors have. Now, inside of our game, inside of Magellan Network, we call this our Magellan Core 4. Magellan Core 4. What these are basically are principles. Every successful person has a set of principles or rules that they, whether consciously or subconsciously, apply inside of the game of business and inside of the game of life. So what are these 4 principles? And by the way, they're in no particular order, but in our game, we call this mindset, vision, rituals, and then energy. 4 things: mindset, vision, rituals, and energy. Now, each one of them plays an important role. And I want you to think about this as an advisor, as a leader, right? You lead your team, you have to lead your clients. I want you to think about almost like a self-score, right? How am I scoring myself 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever you want to do inside of what we call Magellan Core 4. So let's take mindset first. So mindset, if we're going to pick one that is like foundational out of the 4, it's going to be mindset for the very simple reason. If your head is in the wrong place, you will take no action, right? If you're inside your head thinking all these negative thoughts and getting frustrated with things, your business is going to die. In essence, you're going to be dead because you can't move it forward. So what makes up mindset? It's really about what's important to you, what you believe, right? What your intakes are, right? Those are like the top 3. There's self-image and internal dialogue, and we're not going to, that's a whole 90-minute training. We're not going to do that here. But I want to just think about mindset for a second. So one of the things that will affect our mindset the most are really 2 things. Number 1, what do you believe? And then number 2, what's your mental diet? What are you taking in? So in essence, what do you believe? Like if in COVID world here, right? And I'm here in Florida, and we got a lot of that going on. What is your belief about your business? What are your beliefs about your ability to grow your business, your ability to succeed? Now, if you sit there, you wake up in the morning, you say, oh man, it's hard to do business today, or I can't market, or I can't develop business, or you have a case of the I can'ts. If that is your mindset, you're not going to take any action because mentally you say, why bother? You know, your brain goes, why should we go do something? We have very little, if any, chance of success. So you shut it all down. I mean, that's what happens. That's reality, right? The other piece, which is very important, is what we're taking in mentally. Now, there's a need in our game, right, the advisor game, to be knowledgeable, to be aware of what's going on. However, it's like too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing, right? So like you can eat pizza, you can go to McDonald's, have a McDonald's every once in a while, right? But if your diet consists of McDonald's and pizza all day, I know physically what you're going to look like. I know how physically you're going to feel. I know what your health is going to be. Well, the same thing for the mind. If you're going after this and your first thought in the morning is, I'm going to get up and I check my email, then I check the news, then I check the markets, or I check the markets, then the news, whatever I'm doing, right? And you're just taking it, that's like a sugar high, right? You're taking all that sugar in, all that mental sugar in. And you have no idea how it affects you. It puts you in a bad state, you feel frustrated, you feel angry, you feel helpless, feel hopeless. And so our brains, when we don't feel like we have a lot of hope or we can't move things forward, we're not motivated, we're not inspired, our default mechanism is survival. It just is. We're wired that way as human beings. So if you want to take control of your mindset, one of the key principles that we talk about, that I talk about to my clients, is look, limit your news, limit everything, especially for the first couple hours of the morning. I need you to prime yourself mentally by personal development, reading an inspirational book, a spiritual book, videos, podcasts, whatever. Like, they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But what you put in your brain the first hour of the day radically will set the tone for the day. If it's news and info, it's like sugar. If you're doing personal development and inspirational work and you're working on you, that's like eating whatever the healthiest breakfast you can possibly think of, right? That's the thing. So that's a mindset thing. Now, vision. Vision is about what your goals are. What are you looking to accomplish? What is your 5-year vision, your one year vision? What do I need to get done in the next 90 days? This is critical from a business perspective, but it's also critical from a leadership perspective. Because if you have your team and if you're in survival mode, you're not leading. Everybody's just kind of one big survival camp, right? But if you have vision and say, look, hey, we're going to get through this COVID thing. We're going to pivot. We're going to find a way to market, to deploy. We're going to serve people at the highest level. We're going to get referrals in. We're going to up our game. You now can lead your team because you're giving them a vision they can inspire into or aspire to, right? We need to have that. No vision, no goals. What's the default? Survival. So having a vision, now look, I'm the first one to tell you that my 5-year vision, it's still there. The how I'm going to get to had to radically change, right? Nobody put, look, when we do our business planning event in November last year for 2020, I did not get on the stage in front of 100 plus advisors and go, hey, for 2020, we're going to have this pandemic happen. And so I need you all to put into your business plans, your visions, right? Your strategic plans. I want you to allocate for this to happen so we can plan it. Just, nobody has a crystal ball. But it doesn't mean you can abdicate the responsibility for creating a vision that you move towards. So vision is critical. It's also what is going to keep you moving forward when you get adversity. Like I'm moving towards this goal, this vision that I have, and it has to be in writing. So mindset, vision. Let's talk rituals. Rituals are what you do day to day. So how do you start your day? What's your morning ritual? What are your daily rituals? What are your eating rituals? Like everything, your exercise rituals, how you approach business, your review prep rituals, your how do you influence people rituals. Like human beings are ritualistic. And if you stop and think and say, if you were to dissect what you do every day, your approach, and you were to ask yourself, does this strategy serve me? Does this ritual serve me? Right? Like, hey, there's a ritual of exercise and there's a ritual of laying on the couch, right? There's a ritual of eating healthy and there's a ritual of eating unhealthy, right? There's a ritual of being proactive, a ritual of being reactive. These are all rituals. So ask yourself, how do my rituals serve me? And some do, some don't. So for the ones that don't, my recommendation is really look at them. Take a real hard look and ask yourself, does this serve me? Or what's the economic impact, the emotional impact, the negative economic and emotional impact for having? So for example, if you get up in the morning and you get up later than you really want to or should in your brain, right? And then you jump on the news, you're jumping on email, and then you're just in a foul mood, and it's like, I got to go to work today, right? So even if you're framing your game as work, right? Like a job, I got to go to my job today. I mean, you're screwed. I mean, that mental approach is going to affect your rituals. So what is that? So if your brain is JOB, you know what that is? What's the minimum I need to get done today? That'll be your ritual. That'll be your approach. So understand rituals are important, right? So we've got mindset, vision, rituals. Number 4 of the core 4. Energy. Now, energy falls into a couple little categories. There's mental energy, emotional energy, and physical energy. So let's talk about them in threes, right? So let's talk about physical energy first, because if you're energized physically, mentally, and emotionally, you can drive, right? So a lot of advisors sabotage their success. This is in normal times by lack of physical energy. They don't view themselves as an athlete. They don't have that athletic identity. They don't take care of their bodies. They don't work out. They don't eat right. And look, I'm not saying that you got to go be a vegetarian or anything crazy like that. Although I do have clients that are. It's really about, how do you feel? Like when you get up in the morning, how do you feel? Are you rested? Are you energized? Or do you have to drag your lazy ass out of bed? Very simple, right? How do you feel at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? These are very, very simple tests, right? How do you feel when you get up in the morning? How do you feel at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon? After lunch, do you want to go take a nap at your desk, or are you ready to rock and roll? Right? Very simple stuff. And I will tell you, I've had clients increase their business, their production, their income by 20% by one simple change. They changed their diet. They changed their nutrition. They ate like an athlete. They ate like energy. Because there's nothing more sinister in my mind than have a great vision, great goals, great concept, and no gas in the tank to pull it off, right? So physical energy is like the base of the pyramid. Now, mental energy, that's the ability to focus. That's the ability to consume information. This is where you prep for your reviews. This is where you digest information, like I said earlier, all those things. So mental energy, right? Be able to problem solve. Being able to problem solve for people. Critically important. The third one, emotional energy, that's where we do our influence. That's our game, right? That's when you sit down with a prospect or a client and you get the yes on a recommendation, on a plan, on whatever it is. Like if you're going into a situation where you've got to influence somebody, prospect, client, team member, doesn't matter. And you're emotionally empty. You're going to say the words, they're going to mean nothing. Because your body language will betray you. Everything will betray you. So emotionally, we are in an emotionally based business, which most advisors go, whoa, wait a second. I thought it was all about the markets and planning and asset allocation and risk tolerance, all these analytical things. There's a part of that. But the advisors who really thrive understand the emotional game. And they understand that they've got to be in a certain emotional place themselves in order to go ahead and be excellent. And that's just something you got to really think about, right? So ask yourself, the last time I was in a situation where I could have gotten an outcome. Maybe it was to bring in some outside assets from a client. Maybe it was having a conversation with a referral. Maybe it was doing a Zoom meeting with a COI. Whatever it is for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally solid were you there? How energetic were you? How committed were you to getting an outcome? Or were you just showing up and hopefully something good happens? See, if you're going into a situation and your game plan is, well, I'm just going to show up and see what happens, you're not going to get a good result. You have to declare in advance what the outcome is and then drive towards it, right? So in other words, if I'm going to talk to a referral today, I say, okay, so I'm going to talk to a referral. So number one, how's my energy levels, right? How am I mentally, emotionally? Like, am I ready for this? Am I locked in? And if you're not, then let's go change things. Quick strategy is if you're gonna go ahead and have a situation of influence, what you want to do before you get on that Zoom call or that phone call, whatever it is we're doing today, take a minute or two. Seriously, take a minute or two. Get up, take a walk, do some air squats if you need to, or some jumping jacks. Get the blood flowing. Clear your mind, right? And that's why I'm a big fan of like stand-up desk. Because when you're standing up and you're moving your body, you're naturally going to have more mental, physical, and emotional energy. It's because you're just using your body as a tool, right? If your concept is that you're sitting on your ass with the phone crooked to your neck like this, and you think that's a power position, I got news for you. It's the worst possible physical position to put yourself in order to influence somebody, especially yourself. So that's our Magellan Core for. Mindset, vision, rituals, and energy. 4 things. Think of it like 4 legs to a table. All 4 must be balanced and solid in order for that table to support the weight of your goals, of what you want to accomplish, the BS that shows up, right? The adversity, the challenges, and everything else. If these 4 legs are strong and level and balanced, that table can support a lot of weight. You miss a leg, table's going to fall. If the legs are skinny, right, at some point the weight, it all collapses. These are the 4 things you need to focus on. Okay? So if any of this made sense to you, by the way, unless you think I'm like just talking out my butt, and if this stuff makes sense to you, say, yeah, it makes sense. I'd invite you to come spend 14 days with me inside of Magellan Network. There's a link below. It's an application process. There's no economic commitment. I don't believe in that. I want you to come. If you like my Kool-Aid, if in essence, right, and you want a little bit more, why don't you come get some more, okay? Have a great day. Thanks for listening and watching this episode of the Magellan Network Show. So there you have it. If you really enjoyed watching this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the Magellan Network Show with Coach Joe here on YouTube. And remember, I'm always here to help you become a better entrepreneur, business owner, and financial advisor. With that, I'll see you next time on the Magellan Network Show with me, Coach Joe. Take care and goodbye.